welcome to an Everyday Canines video. In this episode on the Beginner's Agility, we're looking at tunnels, and in particular how you make sure your tunnel is suitable for training your dog. Because there are tunnels and then there are tunnels. First off, your tunnel should be a suitable size for your dog. Some of the cheap ones you buy off from certain pet shops and certain online retailers, they are tiny when you look at the diameter of the actual tunnel. And though it might be suitable for a very small dog, they're going to be difficult for a bigger dog to go through safely because the dog's got to duck its head. Even some big dogs will struggle with a true agility tunnel. Now this is a proper agility tunnel, so it's completely correct specifications and it's got the firm wiring all the way through. But even so, some dogs, big dogs, say German Shepherds, pointers if they're tall, will have to duck to go in there. The thing about actual agility tunnels, though they are dearer obviously than the ones you buy cheaply, first off, they are strong and sturdy, whereas the cheap ones you buy are really flimsy. And they've got that support there, so when the dog's running through them, it gives an element of confidence. And it's safety. It's not so bad so much on a straight tunnel because the dog is just running straight through. But when you start to add things like curves, what a lot of people don't realise is that as a dog builds up speed, they actually bank. So what that means is they come along, as they go in, they're going around the curve. It's a bit like a motorcyclist on a bend with a slight incline. They bank up onto the side wall. Now if this isn't sturdy and it moves under their feet, they're going to lose confidence because all the surface is moving under your feet and they can't get traction. They could also injure themselves. So this is why it's important the tunnels, when you're doing stuff like that, are sturdy. If you are using one of the flimsy tunnels or using one of these tunnels, either way, you must make sure they are correctly weighted down. These are, again, agility tunnel bags. They are filled with sand. They're not as heavy as they could be because I had to make them of a reasonable weight for me to be able to lift, but they are the correct thing. So they are either side, they go directly over, they touch the ground. I see a lot of really weird tunnel bags that are not even worth the time you took to put the sand in them, because they either just hang either side or they don't even touch the ground. They have to be solid, touching the ground. So see how this isn't going to move? Now, agility regulations, you should have a sandbag or some form of weighting device every metre of a tunnel. So technically on this is a 3 metre tunnel, technically I should have another bag here. I'm getting away with it because I'm only using it as a straight. So on a straight, because there's no bend, that this is not going to move here, so I get away with that. But if I had any sort of curve on it, I should start weighting it here, what I would. The reason for that is, again, it's stability, safety for the dog. It means that the dog has got a surface they can run on that isn't going to completely roll away under their feet, and they're not going to injure themselves or hurt themselves, and it's going to keep their confidence up. So it's a very sound idea. If you don't have bags like this, they are easy enough to find on the internet. If you don't have them, what you can do is things like people get the very heavy litre canisters that you use for like camping and stuff, fill them with water, and you can put them along and put a bungee over it. I did start with those. They are not as good as the bags. Honestly, they are not, and I wouldn't really trust them for larger dogs like collies. Even my cockapoo magpie, I would say she could barrel and knock them. They're not really sturdy enough to hold it in, but that is something that if you're just starting. The other thing is some of these tunnels, which one of my early tunnels come with loops on them, so you can actually peg them into the ground. And a lot of these cheaper tunnels that you see on the pet shop, they come like that. So you can peg them into the ground with things like, I actually used the screws they use for camping fencing, screwed them in. That tunnel went nowhere, and it was screwed all down its length, and it was nicely supported. You could put bags on as well to make sure the side's there, but that was going nowhere. So that's another thing you can do if your tunnel has loops. Please, please though, when you're training your dog, do not just sit the tunnel there loose. Whatever sort of tunnel it is, don't just think, well, I'll have it loose because we're just doing a bit of training on the tunnel. Don't. Either it's going to worry your dog because as they go through it's going to move and they're going to perhaps lose confidence, or there's the possibility they might injure themselves, and you don't want to injure themselves just when you're just beginning. So whatever you use, make sure it is sturdy and weighted down and not just loose. Apart from that, the tunnel is going to be one of your safer objects to teach and train on. Bear in mind that they can do all sorts of entries and exits on a tunnel. It's one of the most versatile objects in the agility course, next to your jumps. You can do tight turns, you can do straights, you can come out, you can do tunnel to tunnel, things like that. So there's lots we can train with the tunnel, and the tunnel is often one of the things we start on, which is excellent, but what can happen is that people put so much value into tunnels, the dog then becomes obsessed with tunnels, and then we have another problem coming along, which we're going to talk about later. But those are your basics. Now, if you're choosing to start on a tunnel, I suggest go for a short tunnel. You can get tunnels as short as 1 metre, and actually they're ideal for a garden. Okay, you can't do bends with them, but when you're just starting, that is a good place to start. This is the shortest tunnel I possess at this moment in time, but I actually think having even a shorter one would be really good. Obviously there are sometimes limits with budget, and you might think, well, I'd rather buy a full length good tunnel because I can use it with my older dogs perhaps, than to have a small tunnel. The thing is, it's much easier when you're training to work with a short tunnel than to have a really big tunnel, because a big tunnel is daunting for small dogs, for any dog to go through. But we'll look at that in the next video. But that's basically your safety for your tunnels. If you're going to buy a tunnel, go and look at one of the proper agility ones. There are loads of places selling them. This is a Nailer tunnel, which I really like their tunnels. They come in different weights, different lengths, and I think they're very reasonably priced. Have a look around. The important thing is they're nice and sturdy and a correct KC specification. So that's what you need to know. I hope you've enjoyed this Everyday Canines video. If you have, you might like to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click the bell icon and that'll give you notifications of new videos coming out. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and I hope to see you all again very, very soon.